What's up? My name's Sydney. I guess I'm just gonna tell a little bit about my story. And I want to focus on how God's worked in my life more so than what Satan's done in my life. So if I get off topic, sorry, but and excuse the messy room. And I just got out of the pool, so I'm kind of nasty too. But anyways, I guess I'll just go ahead and start. I was sexually abused by 4 different people. Um, 3 of them were men and 1 was a lesbian. And the worst case was with a lesbian. It lasted 4 years, and that was just really hard for me. And I'll explain more about that later. But my dad also has really bad anger issues. He yells, he throws things. It's just really hard for my family because we are always walking on the eggshells, and it's just hard to come home to that every day and not feeling safe. And that's with the abuse and with my dad and just with everything that's happened. But all these things added together all led to my eating disorder. And I mean, my eating disorder wasn't like planned or anything like that, but it was just kind of like, I'm gonna get healthy, for cheerleading and for sports and field hockey and lacrosse and soccer and dance and all those things. But it gradually got much worse every time. My parents didn't find out for 2 years because I was at a practice one night and some of my friends made an excuse and said they were leaving early, but they really went to my house and talked to my parents. And when I got home, they were sitting on my couch, and it was really awkward, and my parents were just kind of in denial at first. But they saw how much worse I got with time because I couldn't just fake it and pretend that nothing was wrong. So, let's see, it started in 8th grade and got the worst in 9th grade and 10th grade and 11th grade. But, I think 10th grade was probably the worst. But I started doing outpatient counseling, and my team was just pretty much awful. I'm not really sure if it was them or if it was me. I just wasn't ready to let go. And the approach they took just did not work at all. And so they stopped taking me to them, and then I saw doctors and all kinds of people. And that was pretty awful too, because they told my parents that if they bought me a car, that I would like go into recovery or have some magical like thing or something. And that did not happen. That would have been kind of cool if I got a car, but did not work. So yeah, I don't blame my parents for not buying me a car for that. So that doctor was very foolish. So parents, don't ever try that because it's not going to work. I mean, you can't fix emotional damage like that. Anyways, random tangent. But so yeah, it got worse in 10th grade. Just could not play sports anymore. Couldn't do anything. My life was basically over because it was ruled by my eating disorder. And so throughout 10th grade, I kept getting sicker and sicker, and then kind of went uphill in 11th grade and just a little bit at the beginning, so because I wanted to play sports. So I started playing field hockey again, and I gradually lost weight the whole time, and then finally at the end of the season, I just went straight downhill. It's a very slippery slope, and I started collapsing at school, and while I was driving, and all kinds of stuff. My parents said they couldn't watch me do that anymore, so they sent me to inpatient treatment, and I went to the Renfrew Center in Florida, and it wasn't really a bad experience on their part. It was more so my fault. I was just afraid to talk because I didn't know what was okay to say, what wasn't okay to say, and so that was just really hard. So I got there, tried to follow the rules and stuff because I just wanted to go and get back home because I didn't really want to lose my eating disorder yet. I didn't really understand what was really happening to me. I was kind of young. So I just went and kind of played the whole game. Like, yeah, I'll follow the rules. Yeah, I won't tell when I slip up. I'm not going to tell them about what's happened. I'm going to blame it all on cheerleading just to make a big excuse and be in denial and play games with them, basically. So I just kind of made a lot of friends and had fun and whatnot. I mean, as much fun as you can have in treatment. But yeah, so that kind of happened, and then I stayed for a month and a half, and my insurance cut out. So the last couple days, I was shocked because I figured out, like, I couldn't go back home to that. I couldn't go back home to the abusers. I couldn't go back home to my dad and face the world again. I just wasn't ready. So all of a sudden I started telling all these things and telling the truth and all this stuff, and they just didn't believe me. They thought I was making up excuses and stuff. So I ended up leaving after a month and a half after my insurance cut out, and wasn't able to stay longer because my parents couldn't pay out of pocket, and that was a very big, humongous setback for me. So I got home and was abused again by a different person. So that made the fourth man right there. And I relapsed after that. I just couldn't handle the emotions, couldn't handle the memories, all kinds of stuff. It was just really hard for me. But I'm not really going to go into details because that's just glorifying what Satan used to destroy me at the moment instead of what God's done for me. So anyways, I was abused by 4 people and kind of relapsed after that and was in outpatient therapy again. And I have an awesome team. Still seeing them after a year and a half, actually a little bit more, but that's okay. Anyways, close to a year and a half. And their name's Allison Chapel and Deborah Benfield. If anyone lives near Winston-Salem, North Carolina, you can go to them because they're amazing and I love them. They're like my little mommies, kind of. But they've always been there for me and just really showed me that I could trust them and stuff. And I didn't understand that in treatment, and I was a little bit older and a lot wiser and stuff. And so I started talking about the abuse and telling my parents for the first time, and was actually like working on stuff. So I kind of did the same whole thing with getting better with sports and then relapsing again in the winter. And I was supposed to go back to treatment. I was going to go to Bermuda, but insurance wouldn't cover, and so then I was going to go to the Eating Recovery Center in Denver, and that didn't work out either, and just we couldn't get anywhere. So I did intensive outpatient, but that lasted 3 days. Thank you, insurance. So I went back to doing just normal outpatient, and my parents paid out of pocket for that. And then finally, I got so malnourished, I started having hallucinations and was collapsing all the time, and I was always at the hospital or the doctor and all kinds of stuff, and started cutting. And then one night my friend Eleanor called my therapist and told her, and so my therapist called my parents, and that was actually on my birthday, my 18th birthday. Pretty awesome. Just kidding. But anyways, she called my parents and told them, and they had no idea about the hallucinations or cutting or anything like that, and so they were going to take me to a psych ward the next morning, and I begged them not to, just give me like another week to prove myself kind of thing. So they did, and that night I just laid on my floor and cried and cried and cried all night long. And I finally just started praying, like, God, how have I let myself get this far? How have I put my eating disorder so far in front of you? Like, how could I ever do that? And I was so ashamed. And at the same time, I was so scared because I didn't know what to do. And I just remember praying and saying, okay, God, I can't be just a little bit sick, and I can't be a lot sick, because any measurement of sick is still sick. So God, I'm not sure if I want recovery yet, but I know I want to honor and glorify you. And so that night I made a promise to myself and to God that I was going to honor him in the next weeks, in the next months, the next years, whatever, with all my life. And I wanted that. And so I prayed that night and I said, okay, God, I'm rededicating my mind to you, my heart to you, my thoughts to you. And I said, I spoke the word out because I knew Satan was right there and he was knocking on my door. So I said, okay. And the word says that I have the mind of Christ. And so I spoke it out and I said, Satan, eating disorder, whoever's listening, I have the mind of Christ. And I'm going to make it through this. And also, I could think it's in 1st or 2nd Corinthians. It says that whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do it all for the glory of God. And so that was my verse for the next weeks and throughout my recovery and stuff. But the next morning I told my mom, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I told her I was sick and tired of playing games and just being miserable, absolutely miserable, and not having a life anymore. So I tried as hard as I could with meals and stuff, and I still really struggled and still had a hard time, but I was making it through. And sorry, that's the phone ringing. I had my good days, my bad days, ups and downs. Kind of had many relapses, not full relapses, but lapses, I guess you could just call it. But up and down, and finally got to a place where I was stable. Got to play lacrosse again. Got all my weight back. I think it was about 35, 40, 50 pounds, something like that. I'm not really allowed to keep track of it, so I'm not really sure even how much I weigh now, but that's okay, because that's not what I measure by anymore. I mean, I'm not ridiculed by numbers anymore. That's not who I am. I'm tired of numbers. I'm tired of faults. I'm tired of not trying to be perfect. Like, I'm just tired of trying so hard all the time, and it never worked. So, anyways, I just worked really, really hard, and finally we decided that it was okay for me to go to college in the state that I was in. So, yay, that's exciting. So I basically started recovery in the time span of like 3 months, and I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm on the road. I still have hard days, still have good days, bad days, whatever, you know. But one verse, I'll read it for you, and this has kind of been with me the whole time. It's Romans 8:35 through 39. It says, "Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble or hardship or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or sword? As it is written, for your sake we face death all day long. We are considered as sheep to be slaughtered." And this is Paul talking. But it says, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither life nor death, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future nor any powers, height nor depth nor anything else in all creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord." And so I really focused that on that in the months ahead and stuff, that everything that I'd been through the abuse, through my dad's anger, through my eating disorder, through everything, that God was never going to stop loving me. Nothing I did was ever going to separate me from that. And I really needed to hear that, because I'd always felt so unloved, and I knew God loved me, but it wasn't stuck in my head. I mean, it was stuck in my head, but it wasn't ingrained in my heart, and I needed to know that. So I spoke that over myself every day. And as you can see this way, it's like all over my room over here, and it's all over these walls to the side and everything. So I look at it every day, and I have to remind myself every morning I wake up, okay, God, I have to make a choice to honor you today. I have to make a choice with every meal, with every snack, with every run I take, with every time I exercise. Like, am I going to honor you with this day? And that's the biggest help in my recovery. And obviously my team going twice, sometimes 3 times a week, you know, just trying to stay on track till college. But I'm going to Liberty University, and I'm actually allowed to cheer again, which is amazing. I never thought that I would get that chance back, but God really has really blessed me, and have a coach that's very understanding. But she knows the whole deal. We have a plan set. So I'm really excited to be able to use sports to honor God now, and to take that part of my life and end it on a good note, you know, because I didn't think I was ever going to get it back. And I realized that my eating disorder just took so much away from me, and I couldn't give to people anymore. I couldn't give of myself, and I was just so tired, and I couldn't do anything. So I'm just really excited what God's doing in my life. I want to go into counseling and women's ministry, creative writing, doing all this stuff in college, so I'm going to be very busy. But I'm really excited to see, you know, what God can do in me if I can really get this up. And I'm still scared. I'm still not always sure if it's worth giving up all the things that my eating disorder helped me do and stuff. But I'm gradually learning, and God's helping me every step of the way. So just be encouraged, because there is hope. Like, I don't have to be perfect. My recovery doesn't have to be either. But, you know, I can still make it. I can still make something of myself. I don't have to die being some poor, sick, pitiful girl, but I can choose to stay positive. I can choose to eat today. I can choose not to weigh. I can choose to be healthy. I can choose to read and stay in the Word, and all these things. So hit